Hi, I'm Corey Scholes. I'm the Director of Education here at the Kauffman Foundation, and we are shooting live from Rethink today to talk a little bit about some exciting organizations and things that are happening for innovation in education. So do you guys want to introduce yourselves?
I am Stacey Yurkovich, and I'm Director of Academies for the Belton School District.
Awesome. My name is Boody. I am the CEO and founder of LEANLAB Education here in Kansas City.
Hi, I'm Scott Bess. I head up the Purdue Polytechnic High School in Indianapolis, Indiana.
So can you guys tell me from each one of your perspectives, like what do you think is one thing kids are going to need to be successful in the future, and what is your organization doing to help kids get there?
Stacey,
Sure. I think for kids to be successful in the future, they need to have a plan for what they want to do, a purpose. And so that's one of the things that we are looking at Belton, is to graduate with a purpose. But that process to get there is heavily focused on transition and exploration and real world experiences, relevant learning, so that the core classes that they are taking are being, the content's being provided through the lens of a college or career academy that they select. So that student engagement and relevant learning, and then, as I said, some real world experience with people in the career that they have an interest.
Awesome. Going down the line. I believe students should be fully active agents and problem solving our biggest challenges for the future. So I was really inspired yesterday. I don't know if you all saw the New York Times article that came out about the high school students that are leading protests across New York City fighting for integration. And I wonder, like, how do we cultivate that kind of mindset and promote that kind of confidence and problem solving some of our society's biggest issues at an earlier age? One thing we're doing along those lines is right now we pilot new technologies or services in partnership with school communities. So right now, one example of those is we have a new technology called Maker's Empire, which is helping children go through the entire innovation process and do rapid cycle prototyping in as early childhood, connected to a 3D printer. So they're actually able to design a problem they want to solve and actually build their own prototype with a physical product and learn through that process at an earlier age. And my hope is that they can grow up to be children like that are in the New York Times, that are not only identifying critical societal problems, but have the literal tools to begin solving those.
Very cool. Well, I'll echo what they said, and then I guess I'll add as a third thing is the idea that they learn how to learn and feel confident that they can learn, right? So that the idea that as things shift and change over time, they have the ability to adapt and shift to those things too, right? So that just because I did this thing doesn't mean I have to do that thing and feel trapped. That I feel really confident that I can always learn something new. So at Purdue Polytechnic High School, we introduce design challenges, things that give students a chance to really dive into something big, like, you know, for example, like, how do you feed 9 billion people on the planet by the year 2050, right? So solve that problem. Well, there's a whole bunch of stuff you have to know and figure out to do that, but by looking at something that's really big and connecting with that, then you can bring kind of their world problems to the surface in that context. And so it really changes how we approach like the core academics and everything else. It's not just go learn how to factor an equation. It's like there's things that you want to be able to do. And so here's some stuff you have to know in order to do that.
So with the landscape of what education looks like and with what we are expecting kids to do, one of the areas we focus on at the foundation is how are we going to help and support the teachers that are going to be able to carry this out. And so kids can't change their ways if teachers are doing the same old. So what are some things that you guys have seen or are working on currently in your work that are really helping support teachers in learning how to teach it kind of in a brand new way? And you want to start down there and we'll go the opposite way?
We kind of blew up the role of the teacher. So first we call our teachers coaches. We think it creates a little different dynamic. They're not just teaching, right? It's the whole idea I'm coaching students through a process. And we actually, this is a little bit heretical at the high school levels, like the content is not the most important thing, right? So learning the parts of a plant cell, while fascinating, is not necessarily the most important thing that's going to come out of high school for you. There are certain competencies that we think are really transferable skills across all subject areas. So our teachers focus on those things the content they can get from other places, and we
Can you give an
augment that.
example, Scott, like
Yeah.
when you say that?
Yeah, so for example, one of our competencies is data analysis, right? That transcends all core subjects, right? So I don't need to go to math class to learn data analysis necessarily. I'm going to learn data analysis through the projects that I do, and my teachers are going to help support them through that. What this means is my teachers don't have to go in and say, I'm going to teach 6 periods a day of the same piece of content. We're going to do some online stuff to kind of acquire some of that knowledge. If a student struggles in that, we'll teach a really good lesson for those students who need it. Everybody else can just go at their own pace and go as quick as they can. But now on the projects is where I'm going to start evaluating them on that competency, right? So how well did you do data analysis in this context? And then maybe 4 months from now, you're doing another project. I'm going to evaluate your competency of data analysis on that project. Totally different context, right? So we're trying to get students to be able to be successful at these competencies in a variety of different contexts and ways, so that now when they go to college or if they go and get a job, whatever you throw at them, they're like, okay, that's cool. I did this one way, now I can do it another way. And they get comfortable doing that, but it completely changes the role of a teacher because they're no longer seen as just a content teacher. They're more around, how do I help develop this student in a way that they need it to do what they want to do?
I'm going to tag onto that because we are partnering with the Ford Next Generation Learning, Ford NGL, and using that framework. And one of the critical components, and one that we think is critical in implementing or providing what's best for kids, is that within that academy there is a team of teachers and a team of students. And part of the structure of the schools that is changing is the schedule and providing time on an every other day basis within our schedule, that team of both core and elective teachers within that academy are collaborating. And so, connected to the data analysis, if that's a skill that is being focused on, then they're having conversation. What does that look like in math and social studies and science and English and their accounting class or their other business class, or perhaps it's their human services pathway. So that collaboration, and then the delivery is, as you're describing, more of a project-based learning model too. And so with the time built into their schedule to collaborate, that facilitates the opportunity for both teachers and students to receive that.
Yeah, for me, I think it goes back again to agency and who has power in the situation. And when I think about teachers, I think about people that have been disempowered and undervalued for a very, very long time, especially when it comes to creating new solutions. So I think the shift of them moving from like the sage on the stage to a guide on the side, like the facilitator in the classroom is great. And I challenge if it's enough. So what we've done is really try to we act as an intermediary and truly try to be a facilitator. So we try to take out our bias from the situation and really get as close to the classroom as possible, because we really do believe that those closest to the issues in education, parents, students, and teachers, should be the ones actively creating the future. So in practice, what that looks like, that means that we have 9 school systems and 9 educators across these school systems. These are classroom teachers who actually identify what challenge in their school system is most in need of innovation. This is not coming from a superintendent. This is coming from them and their classroom communities. It needs to be validated by the system level leader, but it really is coming from the ground floor. And then they choose which solutions they want to pilot in their classroom and inform how they develop, so that really they are in power. We also pay them. So we give them a $2,500 stipend. They do a 6-month pilot study that's identifying a solution of their choice, solving a problem of their choice, designing a research question of their choice. And we really try to treat them as true professionals, not only professionals, but designers and innovators. And the goal is at the end of that process, they have the tools and the evidence to take back to system level leaders and say, this is how we are solving a critical problem for our system in a rigorous, research-backed, and innovative way. So that's kind of our approach, is try to flip the table there.
So I feel like one of the other keys in this is going to be a shift of student accountability. I think for a long time, you know, you talked about the sage on the stage and like, I'm the teacher, I'm the depositor of knowledge. And if we're flipping that paradigm, we also have to flip ownership to kids about the responsibility to know what they know and don't know, and to really be held accountable for that. Are you any of you working on ways to solve that, think about that, or are there things that you have seen that are going really well that are really focusing in on student accountability for their own learning?
We do, and you mentioned student agency, and we also use the term developing assessment capable learners, and the assessment piece is not tests. It's that personal assessment of, and along with that, goal setting. So part of the foundation, as they start in this academy model as a freshman, is some personal goal setting that they're reviewing. But then the conversation is, okay, how do you get there? What skills do you already have? What do you need to focus on? And then it's a partnership and a relationship with the educator in that content or that area of their life, because it's not limited to just academic goal setting. It's personal goal setting and even activities outside of the classroom but associated with school.
Either one of you?
Yeah. So we believe a lot in this whole idea of voice and choice, right, in student agency. So that, and it starts with the idea that like we don't have a master schedule. So there's no preset 36 weeks. Here's where you're going to be at 9 o'clock on every day. It's every week the students kind of decide what do they need to do and when do they want to do it. And again, there's some parameters around that. They're still high school students, but again, we try to give them as much of that as possible. But more importantly, we're really transparent about like, here's the competencies, right? And here are the rubrics that go with them. Bring us evidence, right? So it could be, and again, it could be something in a project that they're doing in school. It could be in an internship that they have. It could be something they're doing as a hobby. For example, one of the competencies is responsibility. And so we had a student come and say, look, one of my jobs in the morning, I get up every morning and I make sure my younger siblings are up and have breakfast and get on the bus. Like, that's a pretty good piece of evidence. There's an advanced in that competency, right? There's a piece of evidence that you delivered to us. So the goal is to try and get all of our students going, hey, I own this. This is my jam, right? This is what I'm looking at, and I'm going to bring you evidence and show you what I know and what I can do, right? And that's a kind of a game changer, because now you have people who you develop this idea, I'm an advocate for myself, and that's a skill that will take them a long, long way.
Final word, Katie.
Yeah, final word on student accountability. I mean, I totally believe in students leading their own learning. It sounds like you guys are making greater advances. And my curiosity, we've been following some work in Colorado where they're rethinking accountability systems over at the state level from this place of students leading learning and personalized instruction. And I just wonder, I love the idea of like those artifacts and evidence they're gathering, and to what extent can those be enough, like, and be recognized at the state level and not really truly be how we design schools, is that, they are demonstrating evidence every day.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of just my bigger question.
Well, thanks so much to all of you. Mr. Kaufman always talked about wanting everything to be uncommon, and I think the three of you certainly fit that bill, and we appreciate you coming today and hope you enjoy the rest of your conference.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Appreciate it.